humans, it's just Martine, and today Connections is going to be picking my TBR. In the first half of this year, I really enjoyed playing Connections every day on the New York Times Games app. I haven't played it in several months, but still, it inspired me to make this video, so shout out to Connections. Connections is this word game where you're given 16 words, and there are 4 categories, and you're trying to figure out which words go together. And as soon as I came up with this video idea, I said, the next time I get a perfect day of Connections, I will use those connections as prompts for a 12 TBRs video. So I think it was on like March 31st or something, I got this perfect score. See it? Isn't she pretty? Perfect. No wrong guesses. And I ended up with 4 different categories. I'm trying to remember the order of them now from memory. It was to take a tumble, kinds of water, blank, bare, and things that are cinched in the middle. And so those will be picking my books. And just to make things extra interesting, I wanted to give myself a little challenge and also to give you, lovely humans, a little challenge and have these 4 books that I chose have some connection between them that then you can guess what the connection is. And I'll tell you at the end what the connection is. It's not a hard one. It's an easy connection, I believe, but I'll tell you at the end. And so without further ado, let's get into the first prompt. The words fall, slip, spill, and trip combined to make the overall prompt of take a tumble. And for this, I read Rose City Freefall, which I gave 3.5 stars. This starts out like a more classic detective mystery. We're following this one detective and like things are happening, so he's on the case, but some weird stuff is going down because what I actually consider to be the catalyzing incident in this book is that something happens to his partner who he's working on the case with, and suddenly he is being framed for the murder of his partner. So he not only has to solve this case, but also he needs to do so without getting caught and arrested for a crime that he didn't commit. So yeah, it was very actiony, which was fine and like overall pretty enjoyable, but I would say it was nothing particularly special. If I'm remembering this correctly, he did work for something called the Bureau, which was weird because it wasn't clarified like which bureau, and to my knowledge he was like a normal police officer and federal people got involved later, so it's not like he was a federal agent of some kind. But I did think it was interesting to think about like who actually has the power in the criminal justice system. Is it the people who are in charge of it? Is it the people who are following the law? Is it the people who are making the law? Is it the people who can pay to get around the law? And there are questions of like moral grayness to solve this case. Our main character is going to have to do some things that like aren't strictly legal, but are they going to be worth it? And so I think that's always pretty interesting to consider. But yeah, overall, nothing special. Rose City Freefall, we took that tumble. We did it. For the connection prompt of types of water or kinds of water, I chose to read Shadows in the Water, which is unfortunate because I gave it 2 stars. It was kind of a paranormal fantasy mystery type thing, kind of an urban fantasy mystery, if you will. Hard to pin down, really, but the basic premise of this is that we're following a woman. Well, we're following lots of people because there are several points of view that get very confusing, but at the end of the day, we are following a woman who is seeking vengeance for the death of her father. And the thing that makes her kind of an interesting main character is that she can travel through shadows and also water. Water in this case is deemed to be like a type of shadow, I guess. She can travel from place to place and hunt the people who are responsible for her father's death by traveling through shadows. And I just feel like there was way too much happening in this. Like the author was trying to do too much, and at the end of the day, I'm not sure what I got from this. And even there were points in which I was very confused. Like I'm not sure that I completely understood the ending. There was a reveal and I was like, did I miss something? The answer was probably because I just had trouble with this book. I don't know why, but it did have the word water in the title. And at the end of the day, that's what I was going for. So that mission was accomplished. But as for reading a book that I really enjoyed, that mission was not accomplished. Okay, for the prompt of blank bear, I ended up reading California Bear, which was so good. I gave it 4 stars. Really, really enjoyed this one. It's a mystery thriller told from 3 different perspectives. In one perspective, we're following quote unquote the girl detective. She's a young girl. She's in the hospital with leukemia, about to get chemo treatment. She has a penchant for like looking through online forums about cases and stuff like that. is very inquisitive. The second perspective is her father. He is just getting released from prison. His conviction was overturned and he hasn't seen his daughter in a couple years. He also doesn't know yet that she's sick at the start of this book. And then we're following the California Bear, who's this serial killer who went dormant for many, many years, but wants to start killing again. And although those first two stories seem completely unrelated to the third, I promise they all come together in this really crazy, magical story about the California Bear. I thought the writing was so interesting. Like, the author largely didn't use character names, the girl detective this, the bear that, etc., etc. And that really solidified like specific identities for these main characters. It also really made the characters like what they do instead of who they are, which was interesting. Or like, I don't know how to describe it. There was just something about that writing style that I found really fascinating. I also feel like all of the characters in this book were sick in different ways. And I think what's interesting for me to consider is that some of these people are ill in ways that society thinks are morally okay or even morally better. And some people are sick in ways that society demonizes, illnesses that are quote unquote morally wrong, which I think putting morality on illness is very strange. But we've always done it. Like, we've done that for mental health. Always. We uphold people as saints who go through other things. Like, we assign a moral rightness to different types of illness, which is so strange. And so I don't know if the author was intending to do this, but it felt like a very good commentary on these different types of illnesses. Like, the girl has cancer, and society would definitely see that and be like, she has an illness. The ways that she can and cannot contribute are not her fault. And yet other characters who were dealing with things like addiction would very much be seen as like lazy, morally wrong in their actions. Again, whether or not the author intended that, that was something I was thinking about mainly after I finished reading it. While I was reading it, I was just like turning the pages. And it was also a book largely about how our relationships with other people change us and our behaviors, and the situations we're in change our perspectives, and all of these different things. The characters were in control in the story in some ways, but it also felt like the story was happening to the characters. And I know that's always the case in literature, but there was something so tangible about that fact in this one, that the characters were both acting upon the world and the world was acting upon them. I think it's really rare nowadays for me to find a mystery thriller book that I really, really enjoy or that can get 4 stars or higher. Typically they're 3.5 stars. You know, it was fun. I read it. It's over. This one, really, like, I might even reread this in the future. I felt like it was so good. I definitely recommend this. It felt like there was so much going on, but not too much going on. Everything made good sense. Like, I was following the story. We were switching perspectives often enough to keep things interesting and fast-paced, but not like overly fast-paced, not too fast-paced. It was perfectly paced, in my opinion. There were twists. There were interesting bits, scarier bits, like where you were worried about the characters. I felt like I could root for the characters. There were some things that happened that I can't believe the author actually did. And I don't feel like I've ever read a book involving a serial killer that was written in quite this way. Usually I feel like in books we're following serial killers either at the beginning of their careers or like in the middle as they're going, or like after they're done killing, like if they're in jail or something. But I feel like it was so interesting to find a serial killer character who, like, for a very specific reason, stopped killing for many, many years. And it was not because he was incarcerated, and then have him want to start killing again. Like, that was very interesting to me. It was both like a classic mystery thriller while also being something a little new. I just really enjoyed it. Yay for the California Bear. The words corset, Diablo, hourglass, and wasp have something in common, and it's that they are things that are cinched in the middle. Now, I personally have never thought of a wasp as something cinched in the middle, but it is. Anyway, for this prompt, I ended up reading The Paper Wasp, which I'm giving 3.5 stars. It's about this woman. I don't know what to say about her, except that she's a little strange. She had this best friend in high school, and they don't talk anymore, but she's still obsessed with her, and that best friend has become famous since then. The school reunion is coming up, and she's planning to, like, run into her there. They cross paths. The famous one is like, hey, if you're ever out in California, let me know and we can get together. And so this main character, a few weeks later, I guess, gets on a plane, goes to California without a plan. When she lands at the airport, she calls this girl and she's like, hey, I'm in California. And friend is like, OMG, what? Like, no notice or anything? Anyway, and takes her in. There's lots of drama in this woman's life because of her fame, because of her career, also because of this guy that she's seeing. The main character that we're following keeps like injecting herself into this girl's life, ends up as her assistant, lives in her home, just like boundaries are not fully there. And so it's got this really sinister quality about it where she clearly wants to have the life that her high school best friend has, and very much is trying to insert herself into that life. I found it to be pretty interesting, although I would say not much happens, which is fine. I'm okay if not a lot happens. Action sequences are like my least favorite things to read, but that's just a warning to anybody else who's maybe interested in the premise. Like, not a lot happens. It kind of gave me the vibes of Saltburn, but like not exactly, with like planning, scheming, and like not seeming like things were happening, but things were definitely happening. That vibe, that's the way that it reminded me of Saltburn, and like a rich friend that you're obsessed with. So that was, yeah, that was that. And I guess I'm never gonna look at a wasp the same way. Those were my 4 reads. I would love for you to pause the video here, pause, take your guess down below. What's the connection? Because I'm gonna tell you in 3, 2, 1 that the connection is that somewhere in the first 3 tags on Goodreads for all of these books, there is the tag thriller. So not all of them have the first primary genre of thriller, but somewhere in the first 3 tags, it's been marked as a thriller. And using the first 3 tags is how we decided whether a book was or was not a genre-specific book for extra points in Wonderathon this summer. So I thought first 3 tags, that's perfectly acceptable. And it was kind of specific to find books that included all that. Had something to do with the prompt and included that. So go me. But I'm going to end the vlog here. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up and comment down below. Are you a Connections person, or do you enjoy a different New York Times puzzle better than Connections? And subscribe for more bookish and college lifestyle content. And until next time, bye humans, bye!